David, it's good to have you. And I think that the most important thing to point out here is you actually commend FireEye for going public with this information because of its severity. The Washington Post is implying that it was Russia, but what do we know at this point?
We don't know a whole lot because FireEye right now is still in its investigation phase. What we know is that, the sophistication levels that we typically see from these types of organized groups often lead to what we call advanced persistent threats or nation states like Russia, China, et cetera. We don't know for sure, but Russia would make sense because FireEye has been actively going after Russia for a long period of time, both from exposing their intelligence operations, them infiltrating, critical infrastructure here in the United States, as well as a number of different areas. So FireEye coming out with this and being very transparent about it has been a very good thing. In fact, they just recently released all the tools that were stolen. They stole a bunch of tools called red teaming tools, which are hacker tools that private companies use to simulate these types of attacks. They publish ways of identifying them so that they don't do any harm to any other organization out there if Russia were to use them against the world.
Right. So the nature of this attack, it's not so much that FireEye had information that was stolen. They had tools, and those tools were kind of stolen. And these tools simulate serious attacks on major corporate websites and that kind of thing. So what does corporate America need to know right now about the vulnerabilities that now exist?
Yeah, when you look at these types of tools, they're designed to simulate what nation states would do. The sophistication levels and the advancements that these countries have. They have thousands of people, billions of dollars of resources trying to hack into the global economy, intelligence gaining purposes, intellectual property theft. And so for corporations to build defenses against this, private corporations build the same types of tools and techniques in order to simulate those types of hacks so that you can build defenses against it. And so, when you see these types of tools compromised, it means that Russia now has access to additional capabilities that they may have not had before. The good news is that FireEye has come out and said that the tools that were taken, there were no 0 days, which 0 days, if you remember a few years ago, the NSA had a major data breach from the Russian intelligence unit, the GRU, that compromised and actually caused a big issue where they shut down hospitals and things like that because of the exploits and the tools that were leaked from the NSA. This isn't anywhere near as severe as something like that, but it definitely enhances Russia's capabilities and allows them to understand what private companies are doing to try to build defenses against what Russia is doing, what China is doing, what North Korea and Iran are doing against countries that they're hostile to, like the United States and its allies. So this for corporations and countries, we really need to continue to bolster our security stances against these types of attacks.
Well, and this isn't the question for you, but obviously it makes me wonder about retaliation, what the U.S. response is to this kind of thing, what it might be in this case. Again, first, I guess we have to wait to confirm what we actually know about what happened. But to reiterate what you were just saying, it's not so much just whether this actor alone is going to have the information with these tools, but whether they kind of give that to other players like North Korea, like you said, or Iran. So does it just suggest that, this is a black eye for FireEye because they are the cybersecurity company. The fact that they themselves were exploited would render them vulnerable. But at the same time, the exploitation suggests all the more need for new and sophisticated and cutting edge cybersecurity to protect against these tools now being out there on kind of the dark web. So what's a customer to do? They have no choice but to use these firms, even if they're vulnerable to being hacked themselves.
I think you hit it on the head on the retaliation front that, cyber warfare, there's little to no rules when it comes to the games that are being played right now. Russia hacks into everybody, and there's really little to no retaliation. And this looks like to be retaliation for what FireEye has been doing about exposing Russia's intelligence operations around the globe. When it comes to these types of tools and capabilities, they're absolutely necessary for us to have in order to help organizations. But when a leak like this occurs, FireEye is taking the right approach around releasing information on how you detect these tools. The problem you run into is that Russia has a very large and very growing population around sophisticated organized crime groups, also known as ransomware. And you might have seen in the news recently, Universal Health Systems that was hacked, Garmin that was hacked and had to pay ransom back. All these different organizations that are getting hacked are a large amount of them are originating out of Russia and sponsored by the government. They're making, hundreds of millions of dollars, and we can't touch them from a extradition perspective because they're hostile to the United States. So, you can absolutely expect to see those organized crime groups from a ransomware perspective gain some of these tools and to be used against us. And so,
Yeah.
you know, my warning for companies is, you know, we're on notice now to build better defenses to try to withstand these types of attacks. And our security programs really need to be designed to thwart those types of attacks as they come along.
Yeah, well said. David, thanks for joining us to break it down. It's very important. We appreciate it.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.